Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. I didn't realise I'd gone live then. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, what I'm going to try and do, what I said I would do, we're going to have a look every day. I'm going to try in the mornings to give a little update on what's happening in this mushroom killer case. So, it will be early in the morning that I'll be doing it because, of course, this trial is taking place in Australia and these events will develop overnight. As soon as I get up in the morning, I'm hoping to be able to give you an update every day. So, yesterday or last night, if you like, or yesterday in Australia, it was day one of Erin Patterson's trial for the murder of 3 of her relatives and the attempted murder of another person in her family. And it's very interesting because already, just on day one, we have some answers to questions that we had. So it's very interesting. There's a lot that's going to come out in this trial. And as predicted, it seems like Erin is trying to say she's not denying that these death cap mushrooms were in the beef Wellington that she prepared for the lunch that she made for her family. She's not denying they were there. What she's saying is it was all an accident. Honestly, Your Honour, it was a complete accident. She doesn't know how they got in there, or it was accidental that they got in there. So I think we knew that this was going to be her defence, didn't we? So, as I say, every morning I'm going to try and give a quick update. Will be a very quick update because I've got classes. As those of you know, I'm a Spanish teacher. I've got some classes this morning. I've not had my breakfast yet. So it'll be a very, very quick update. And this update I'm giving you from The Guardian. So yes, just before I carry on, thank you as always to all my subscribers, etc. Thank you. So don't forget to press your notification bell if you're interested in this case, so that you get, notifications of the updates. So I think the first thing that struck me, this is a question that a lot of us were asking yesterday. Why was Erin not ill? How did Erin herself not get ill? So we find out that Erin Patterson, she used a different plate to the guests at the deadly mushroom lunch. So she's 50. She faces 3 charges of murder and 1 charge of attempted murder relating to a beef Wellington lunch she served at her house in South Gippsland in 2023. So she will defend the charges. The court has heard that she will defend the charges by claiming that the poisoning was accidental. So we sort of gathered, didn't we, or we guessed yesterday that might be what she did, because she can't really deny that they were in the beef Wellington, because that's what the people died of. And also I think they found that they found some traces, didn't they, in a house in that, what do they call it? Those humidifier things for, not dehydrators for vegetables that she'd thrown away. So she's pled not guilty to all the charges. She's pled not guilty to murdering or attempting to murder the relatives of her estranged husband, Simon Patterson. And she is accused of murdering his parents, Don and Gail Patterson, his aunt, Heather Wilkinson, and attempting to murder Ian Wilkinson. And Simon was also her husband was also invited to the lunch. So remember that she was initially charged with his attempted murder, but those charges were dropped just before the trial started. So what she did was she served individual beef Wellingtons to her lunch guests. So that's how she avoided taking any of this. She served them in individual dishes. So she's denied deliberately poisoning them. So here we've got like the family tree. We've got Don, who died. He was, the other thing is we have to remember is it was an agonizing death. These mushrooms, they don't work instantly. They attack from inside. And, it was fine the first day, feeling a bit sick the second day, then going to hospital. It's a gradual, very long and horrible death. So Don Patterson, Gail Patterson, both age 70. That's her ex-husband's mother and father. And then Gail's sister, Heather, 66. The aunt of her ex-husband. And Ian Wilkinson, who was her husband. He's the only one. He's the only one that survived out of the four. Ian Wilkinson survived. And her husband, Simon Patterson, and of course Erin, who won't have had any of the mushrooms. So they're divorced. Again, we don't know the motive yet, though I'm sure the prosecution will come up with a motive. I think it's likely to just be, chagrin about being divorced from Simon, or possibly there's some money involved. And Simon and Erin have 2 children. God knows what they think of it all. So Judge Christopher Beale told the jury on Wednesday morning his understanding of Patterson's defence was that she had not meant to poison her guests. So Mr. Beale was running through a murder checklist which has been provided to the jury in order for them to understand the questions of law that must be considered in order for them to reach a verdict. As I understand it, he said, the accused defence is she did not deliberately serve up a poison meal. That happened accidentally. And Patterson was crying as Beale spoke to the jury. Well, we've seen Erin Patterson's tears, haven't we, or lack of them, pretend crying. We've seen that. So Nanette Rogers, the prosecutor, said in her opening submissions in the case, Patterson had invited Simon and his relatives to her house to discuss medical issues. God, you couldn't make it up, could you? Medical issues, and how to break the news to her and Simon's 2 children. She invited the group to her lunch during a service at the Corumburra Baptist Church, where Ian was the pastor, on the 16th of July 2023. And the night before the lunch, Simon texted Patterson that he felt uncomfortable attending, but he would be happy to discuss her health with her another time. And then she responded 5 minutes later, saying she was disappointed and emphasising the effort she had put into the lunch, which was a special meal of the kind she may not be able to have for some time. Oh my God, she's bloody manipulative, isn't she? So yeah, I did wonder, why did they all go for lunch? I thought maybe they thought they had a good relationship with her, but obviously they didn't, because they felt uncomfortable with it. She's practically emotionally blackmailed them into going to that lunch, saying they had to discuss some of her medical issues. So this is the church. Oops, where's it gone? This is the church, the Corumburra Church. So the Wilkinsons had been puzzled about the lunch invite, Rogers said, as they had never visited Patterson's home before. And when they arrived, they were shown around the property before being taken into the dining area. Rogers showed a photo of the dining table, which had 6 seats and ran parallel to a kitchen island bench, to the jury during her opening. Patterson served the individual. So that's answered a big question that a lot of us had. Why was she not ill? And this is why, because she made them all individually. And they consisted of a piece of steak covered in mushrooms and encased in pastry with mashed potato and green beans on 4 large grey plates to her guests. And her meal was served on a smaller, lighter coloured plate, Rogers said. They said Grayson started the meal. The Wilkinsons ate their meal, with Gail finishing half of hers and Don eating all his and the rest of Gail's, Rogers said. Oh, so poor Don. He ate his and his wife's as well. And the thing is, yeah, she would have sat and watched them eat that, knowing what they were eating. Every mouthful that they took, she knew what it was going to do to them. It's horrible, isn't it? She's a horrible woman. Really, really horrible. And then after the meal, she announced she had cancer and asked whether she should tell the children. And Patterson had earlier discussed with Gail that she had a biopsy, another test taken regarding a lump she had found on her elbow. The group agreed she should be honest with them, and they prayed together about Patterson telling the children. And all the lunch guests started to feel unwell about 11 or 12 hours later. It's quite a long time, isn't it? You know, normally, like if you eat some food like that's off or whatever, it normally manifests itself before that, doesn't it? So I've just seen there is a cut. Hi, David. You're up at nice and early this morning. Yeah. So imagine, so it just gets even more worse, doesn't it? Or even worse. You know, she's planned it. She's plated up the beef Wellingtons individually, made sure she didn't get any of those death cap mushrooms. So 11 or 12 hours later, they've got ill. And then they were transferred to local hospitals and then to intensive care in Melbourne. And Rogers said that Patterson had an amicable relationship with her husband, or so he thought, so you just never know what people are thinking, do you? Never know what people are thinking. Remember that with Anna Knezevich and David, you know, oh yes, amicable divorce, there was no problems, you know, and then he went off and all the way to Spain from Serbia and murdered her. You know, it's like you just don't know. They might appear, you know, makes you worry, doesn't it? You think, God, just because someone appears to be being nice doesn't necessarily mean that they are. So anyway, so that apparently they'd separated in 2015, and he said, you know, that despite their separation, they'd had an amicable relationship, and Simon, her husband, had maintained hope that the couple would reconcile, Rogers said. So the motive then can't be her being bitter about him leaving her, because it seems like he wanted to get back with her. And she said at that time, Patterson asked why Simon had referred to himself as separated on his tax return. And although he said he was willing to amend it, she said she would instead be seeking child support payments. So what is the motive? It must be money. If it's not love, it's money, isn't it, the motive? So about 4 weeks before this particular lunch, she had invited Simon and his parents to lunch, but Simon could not go. He texted to say he couldn't go, and the meal passed without incident. But after the subsequent beef Wellington lunch, when all the guests became increasingly unwell, medical experts eventually came to the conclusion the symptoms were death cap mushroom poisoning. So a lot of this case is going to depend on medical, scientific experts, isn't it? Now, she did also go to the hospital saying she was suffering from diarrhea. I don't know if you go to the hospital when you're suffering from diarrhea, do you? But she wanted a bit of a cover story, didn't she? So Rogers said that when Patterson was asked on multiple occasions by medical professionals and others, including Don and Gail's son, gosh, of course, yeah, they've got children, bloody hell. You know, she just created misery, this woman, allegedly. I have to keep remembering it's allegedly. So she said the source of the mushrooms, half were fresh from Woolworths. We don't have Woolworths, do we, anymore in the UK? So she said half were fresh from Woolworths and the other half were dried mushrooms bought from an Asian grocer in the Melbourne suburb of Oakley or Glen Waverley. And she further specified in these conversations she had bought 500-gram pack of pre-sliced fresh mushrooms from Woolworths, and that the dried mushrooms had been removed from their packaging and placed in a plastic container after they were bought in April 2023. I mean, I don't see why you would put those kind of mushrooms in a beef Wellington. Anyway, Patterson said she made a paste with these mushrooms for the meal and that she had used all the dried mushrooms and not cooked with them previously. So she's casting shade on this poor Asian shop, trying to blame it on them. Rogers said Patterson initially resisted treatment at Leongatha Hospital and signed a discharge against medical advice form before leaving. And the jury was shown a still from a CCTV footage of Patterson leaving the hospital. Now, the thing is, she's just gone to the hospital just like to say she'd gone to the hospital. Probably, hasn't she? And Rogers said a doctor at the hospital, Dr. Christopher Webster, was so concerned she had left that he called the police, asking if they could attend her house and force her to return. And she returned about 45 minutes later. And Patterson told Webster her children, aged 9 and 14, had eaten the leftovers, but that she had scraped the mushroom off. Why did she scrape the mushroom off? You know, it's, hi, Maria. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Maria's telling us that she once worked as an air traffic controller in Melbourne. Oh, my God. Maybe you're safe with her as long as you don't have any food from her. But, God, you wouldn't want to be in a plane if she'd had a bad day, would you? Anyway, so... yeah, why would she have scraped the mushroom off? Maybe because they didn't like mushroom, I don't know. When he insisted they be taken from school and assessed, she got upset, Rogers said. And Patterson asked Webster, is this really necessary? They don't have symptoms. They didn't eat the mushrooms. I don't want them to be scared or panicked. To which Webster replied, they can be scared and alive or dead. So soon after, Rogers said the police who had been called by Webster to check on Patterson arrived at her house. One officer spoke to Patterson via a mobile phone. She directed him to where she could find the leftovers of the meal, in a brown Woolworths bag in an outside bin. And this is her opening submission, and this continues. So Patterson's lawyer, Colin Mandy, will make his opening submission when Rogers concludes. So, yeah, remember, she's no longer accused of attempting to murder her estranged husband. Okay, so it's continuing. So we've had some answers, haven't we? I think the biggest answer we got there is why she was not affected at all. And the way she did that, the way she got around that, allegedly, according to the prosecution, is she prepared all those meals individually. Hi, Tracy. Yeah, so, yeah, the trial continues. So we'll find out more things as it goes on. So as I say, I'm going to try and jump on every morning just briefly, because that was just a short update. There'll be some days where there'll be more to say, of course. But I think if you pardon the pun, the major takeaway we can take from that is the reason she wasn't affected is she prepared those beef Wellingtons in individual dishes. And then she's saying that her children ate the leftovers, but she'd scraped off the sauce. Now, I've got to say, that's a big chance to take, isn't it? If you knew there was poison there, even if you scraped the mushroom sauce off the top, you couldn't be sure that they wouldn't get any of those mushrooms in them, these horrible death cap mushrooms. Let's just have another look at a picture of it. You know, if you're a forager, these are the mushrooms definitely to avoid. These are the death cap mushrooms. The name says it all, doesn't it? Don't need to go much further than the name. Here's our victims, bless them. This guy is still alive. The husband of the Gail, I think her name's Gail. She died, unfortunately. These three all died, but this guy did survive. But I think he was really traumatized by it all. Well, you can imagine that it was. I mean, physically, it's left him. He's not 100% after, even though he survived those death cap mushrooms. He was in hospital a long time and he suffered a lot, bless him. Yeah, it's just awful. So Don and Gail are Simon, her ex-husband's parents. And then, Heather is the aunt, and Ian on the right-hand side, he's the guy who survived. Okay, I've got to go. I've got Spanish to teach, but I'll be back later. I'm hoping to do the Prince Andrew React interview later on this morning. So keep your notifications on. Make sure you've got your notifications on all. Though and you do know, because a lot of people say, I don't get the notifications, but the best thing to do when you go into the notifications, next to the subscribe button on the channel, there's a bell. You not only press the bell, but it'll ask you what notifications you want, and you've got either none, personalized, or all. Make sure you press all, and then you'll get notification every time a video comes out, whether it be a live or be it a recorded video. Okay, so I hope you all have a great day or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. You're all in different places. I know just from the ones that, and hi to you lurkers, hi to replay crew. I will see you really soon in the next video. And as always, may your God go with you. Bye.